Our next inductee will be Trai Essex.
He was an all-state tight end. And, oh, by the way, a pretty darn good basketball player who played on the state champion in 2001 on the 2A level. But it was football that would get him to the next level, and that would be at Northwestern, where he was recruited as a tight end. And after his freshman year, I happened to be at Big Ten Media Day in Chicago and ran into his coach, the late Randy Walker. And I asked him, what's your plan for Trai? He says, pretty good tight end. But we're going to turn him into an offensive lineman, and he's going to be great at that.
Man was pretty clairvoyant because Trai went on to have an 8-year NFL career that included 2 Super Bowl championships. I remember him getting drafted the night it was a Saturday night, and it was late. He was in the 3rd round. And we were waiting to see just where he was going to go. And finally, it happened. And I went on out to his house on the south side of town and sat down, and we did an interview. God, Trai must have been 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. But I remember that forever. And it just was the start of what ended up being a very nice career in the NFL. He has had success since leaving football in the business world and has come back to run football camps himself for kids at New Haven, which is basically where all the Harding guys who can't say there's a Harding anymore go to do their service and honor their alma mater. He has done great things on and off the field, and he will be introduced by his dad, Donald Essex.
So, good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Donald Essex, and Trai is my eldest son. I would like to first thank the Region 3 chapter of the Indiana Football Hall of Fame, and also congratulate the other 8 football icons being enshrined today. So, as a father, I'm more interested in Trai's journey. And so that's what I'm going to speak about. So Trai was born in 1982, and my wife Kimberly and I were 18 years old. So just having graduated from high school, there were some tough decisions to be made. I decided my best option was the military, so I joined the Air Force. I was stationed in South Carolina, and Trai was about 6 or 7, and that was really his introduction to athletics. My wife, Kimberly, worked at the youth center. We were stationed at Shaw Air Force Base. She signed him up for baseball, soccer, basketball, and it wasn't until he came back to Fort Wayne, we came back about 93, 94, that he started playing football. So he played in the Metro League, middle school, high school, and then college in the NFL. So what I remember about Trai at that time, he was between 6 and 10 years old, is that he loved to play. It was a different time. It was the 90s, and kids played more. They didn't just play video games. They played outside. And Trai played hard. He would be outside from morning until, it was almost dark. And we were in an environment where we felt safe, and we could look outside. We were near a base, and we could see what he was doing. We could see him with his friends. So in my mind, that was a good way to get introduced to athletics. So he would occasionally come in and have a drink or eat, and then we wouldn't see him again until I went out and got him before it got dark. And I checked on him. I didn't just let him do whatever he wanted to do. I would check on him. I could look outside and see what he was doing. And so additionally, Trai was gifted with size. So I remember when he was growing up that his shoe size always matched his age. So when he was 8 years old, he wore a size 8. When he was 9 years old, he wore a size 9. When he was 11, he was wearing my clothes. So we wore, and I'm the same size as I am right now. So the big feet were problematic when you're 7 and 8 years old, and you're running down the basketball court and you trip over your feet. He hadn't grown into his size yet, but he learned to use that size, and he learned to use those feet to become a standout in every sport he played. In my opinion, he was always the biggest, and he was always the best. So moving forward to high school, middle school and then high school, Trai excelled in football and basketball. Again, he learned how to master his size and those feet to become a standout tight end in football and a center on Harding's basketball team. As some of you remember, and what was mentioned before, Harding won the 2A state championship in basketball in 2001. And prior to that, I think Northrop won in 1974, which was 27 years prior to that. So that was the last school in Fort Wayne before they won in 2001. I think Dean talked about stats, but he did score 23 points and 14 rebounds. 2 of the free shots were within the last 7 seconds. They were up because I think Courtney Reese got a free throw, but those points helped them win. So they ended up winning 73 to 70. So the other thing in high school is I remember him, a lot of colleges having interest in him, and I'd never been through that experience before. Colleges were calling all the time. Coaches were coming to see him. He ended up at Northwestern, but before that, we went to Miami, the University of Miami, Florida, which I didn't want him to go there. But right after the official visit, he wanted to go there. We didn't see Trai. We were there for 3 days, and we never saw Trai. They took him, and he later told me what happened when they took him, and that made me even more glad that he didn't go to Miami. We went to Notre Dame and then Northwestern on the same weekend. Of course, he ended up going to Northwestern. So after a great collegiate career, Trai was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 3rd round on April 23rd. So it was kind of bittersweet for me because my dad, who went with me to every game that he could go to, in high school, my dad introduced him to Wildcat. Baseball, my dad went to games with me at college. He always wanted Trai to make it on the professional level, but unfortunately, he passed away the day before Trai was drafted. So I was grieving my father while being happy that my son was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers. But we made it through. He went to Pittsburgh. He ended up winning 2 Super Bowl rings, and so that was great. I think what me and my wife are most proud of is, of course, we're proud of his accomplishments, but we're also proud that he's a great family man. His wife, Christina, his children, our grandchildren, Amaya, Ava, and Jordy, you can feel the love. And as a father, it feels so good to see your son be a good father. And so that's what we're most proud of. So that's kind of the story of Trai, abbreviated story of Trai. So now, without further delay, I would like to introduce our son, Trai Essex, as a 2023 inductee to the Indiana Football Hall of Fame.
You almost got me, Dad. You almost got me. My daughter had a bet on me that I was gonna cry, but I held strong. I held strong. How's everybody doing today? Oh, this is awesome. This is awesome. Being here with all these amazing athletes and all these influential people that had such a huge impact on football in Fort Wayne. But first, I would like to thank the IFCA Region 3 Committee for inducted me with these awesome people. I just remember growing up and reading and watching guys like Jason Fabini, who I got to know a little bit over time, and Jason Baker, and Von Dunbar. Like Jason said earlier, we used to try to mimic you in our backyard. These legends, and the Dorflers, who have been a staple in Fort Wayne for so long and have done so much for the youth of Fort Wayne. And to my contemporaries, my peers, Bernard, who I had the opportunity to go against on every level of football. We had battles at Southside. He is the definition of a heat-seeking missile. And back then, I played tight end, like Dean alluded to earlier, and I was like, don't throw that ball near me when Bernard's close. I don't want that work. And to Spence, oh man, I didn't tell you this, man, but the first thing I ever got was trying to tackle you. My whole left shoulder just gave out. You had no business playing fullback for Lures, but I was glad you were a nose tackle because I didn't have to see you at a tight end. I didn't have to block you, but you know, those guys, I knew it would be a battle every time I played against them because they brought out the best in me, and I hope I did the same for you. But oftentimes at events like this, you hear athletes talking about what they had to overcome, how many obstacles they had to deal with, how people told them they weren't going to go far or they couldn't do this or couldn't do that. I never had that issue. I was very fortunate and blessed to have a strong family, friend, and coaching network around me, always supporting me, always giving me love and telling me that I can accomplish anything that I need to do or that I want to do, and not only on the field, but in the classroom as well. But it all starts with my beautiful, wonderful parents, Donald and Kimberly Essex. Can y'all clap it up for them for a second? Dad, obviously you've done a lot, but the thing that has stuck with me the most is always your willingness to talk to me. Sit down, we would have these long, very long talks. And if you thought I wasn't paying attention, you were right some of the time. But I did take some of those words, and the most important thing is that I incorporated that into how me and Christina parent our kids. We talk and we listen, which I think is important when you're trying to get the best out of your little ones. Mom, thank you for being my rock. Thank you for always keeping me grounded. Everybody knows my mom keeps it real all the time. I never had to guess where she stood, and she always told me where I could be better and what I need to do to be a better man. And also, she introduced me to the game of football. First at Lane as a sixth grader, and then later for the Redskins in Metro. So she kind of got this ball rolling. I was only basketball, soccer, and baseball prior to that, and then we came back to Fort Wayne, and like my dad said earlier, that's how football became a part of my life. And the rest is history. I love you both, and I have an amazing parent, but that's not where it ends. Thank you, Uncle Tommy, and amongst many, many things that you did for me, there's one particular moment that stands out. You made it possible for me to go to Purdue basketball camp, and that was my first time really competing against somebody outside of local talent. And that meant the world to me because it gave me the confidence that I could compete with anybody and I could do big things. So thank you. I love you. And May, Uncle Harry cannot be here today. She is battling cancer, so if you have time to say a little prayer for my aunt. But she is, both of them, always made a point to come to every significant moment in my life, every event, every graduation, every banquet. She was there cheering me on and celebrating my victories with me. So I love you, MMA, Uncle Harry. Thank you to my grandparents. Rest in peace. Like my dad said earlier, my papa, back when baseball was my first love, he made a point to go out and hit ground balls to me over at Weiser Park. And he did it, even as he got older, even when it became harder for him to move around, he was out there faithfully trying to make me better and supporting me in every single way. To my grandma Essex, my grandma Lula Mae, she used to go up to the Journal-Gazette and News Sentinel and not ask, demand 10 copies of every article with my name on it. And she would go to church, Pilgrim Baptist, and for 6 hours, or you know how long Pilgrim Baptist is. For 6 hours, they would find ways to insert me into the conversation with her friends. And so my grandma Yvonne, who encouraged me and watered my artistic side, she would tell me to sit down in front of a word processor, y'all remember those, right? And write her a story, be creative. I was her little squeebie, even though I was 7 years old and already seeing on top of her head, so. But I love you and miss you so much, my grandparents. To my Uncle Bay and Booney, thank you for letting me come home from college and beat you in Madden for some money so I could take back to school, because that money went a long way. But they used to, in all honesty, they were always an ear for me to talk to, and I thank them with all my heart. To my friends at this point who are extended family, Nicole and Matt Ridley, thank you for always being there, supporting me, and giving me and Christina the honor of being godparents to your kids. Braden, Riley, I'm looking forward to seeing your Hall of Fame induction soon enough. Brian, AKA LB, thank you for your constant and unapologetically trash talking all the time. Our hundreds and hundreds of driveway basketball games, even though I would beat you 99 out of 100 times, you found a way to talk mess. And if my head was ever going to get big, you knew the words to deflate it a little bit. So thank you for that. And last but not least, to my ace, to my queen, my wife, Christina Essex. Baby, we working on 12 years of marriage, 21 years of being together, and you've been there every step of the way. Before I thought I was capable of being an NFL player at Northwestern, you were there supporting me. I absolutely would not be here if not for you. Thank you for giving me 3 wonderful, awesome kids. Amaya, Ava, Jordy, you guys are my heartbeat. And I would not have it any other way. And this thing called life, at the end of this thing, if I'm a Hall of Fame dad and a Hall of Fame husband, I did this thing right. So thank you again to the IFCA committee for inducting me, and congratulations to all my fellow inductees. We Hall of Famers now, baby. Y'all know that, right? Wait. I got about 4 minutes left, dude, I think, right? You gave us 10. I want to do something a little different because I have a hard time talking about myself, but I can do a good Q&A. So does anybody have any questions or anything they want to know? I'm serious. Who wants to? Raise your hands. Of course you do. Say that again? They need a lot more than me, my man. Oh, they're going through some things right now, so. Brian, what you got for me?
Do you ultimately wish you went to the NBA instead?
Ooh. I don't know how many people know, but I consider myself a basketball player coming up. But in 8th grade, I stopped growing this way and started growing this way. And so basketball, being a pro at basketball became just a dream at that point. And so, yes, I still have dreams if I grew a little bit taller of playing NBA, but it all worked out in there. Anybody else? It's the last ask an Indiana Hall of Famer a question right now. This is your time to do it. All right. Thank you. Oh, we got one.
We're Boilers back here, so how was the Purdue basketball team?
It was amazing. And true story, I wanted to go to Purdue. I thought coming out as a tight end, they had Drew Brees and Tim Stratton was the tight end, and he caught like 80 balls. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go do the same thing. And that was before, receiving tight ends were a thing. And so Coach Spack was my recruiting coach, came down. He was like, you were a pretty good tight end, but the only way we're going to give you a scholarship is if you put your hand in the dirt. I was like, no, I'm going to go play tight end at Northwestern then. And Northwestern gave me 1 year, and then I was right with my hand in the dirt on the line. So, all right, thank you, everybody, again. Have a good day.